All right, everyone, we are live with the man himself, Mr. Mike Ferry, real estate icon, legend, just all around amazing educator in our space in real estate. I remember Mike Ferry, I got into real estate in 2002, and Mike, I just remember hearing Mike's name constantly as I joined the industry, and it's just, the scripts and the way real estate is conducted today has a lot to do with you, sir. And I'm very honored to be on here with you, to be talking with you, and just welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time and spending this time with us to share your knowledge and everything that you're going to provide to us today. So welcome to this broadcast, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. And Kevin, it's nice to see you again. That's for sure. We haven't seen each other for a while, and I know that Tristan and the whole group, you guys are really doing something very unique. And I asked about the size of the group now, and of course it's huge. It's just amazing what you've done. So hats off to all of you and to all of your great participants. I want to start by sharing a story. In 2006, in July at our Superstar Retreat in Las Vegas, I had taken the film, The Perfect Storm. And if you remember that movie about the guys that are out fishing and the boat sinks, it was George Clooney, and it was quite a popular movie. And I took about 60 seconds of the movie at the end, and I did a voiceover. And in the voiceover, I talked about the 5 reasons why the real estate economy was going to collapse in 2007. And it was interesting because as I did the final point is when the boat sunk, and my whole audience, there were 4,000 people there, all kind of went, ah. And I said, well, this is what's going to happen if we don't pay attention to all of us. We're going to sink in 2007 if we don't pay attention. Well, you get a kick out of this. Half the audience applauded and half booed me for doing it. Oh, yeah. Some of the people got really angry because I was trying to tell them what I saw taking place. But here's what's interesting. January 2007, I did the production retreat, same audience. And now, of course, everything I had talked about in July of 2006 was in play. It was actually taking place. And as we know, 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 were not exactly the fun times of real estate. We called it the perfect storm. Well, today we have the perfect real estate market, in my opinion. And there's 2 reasons why the market is absolutely perfect for all the members, of your group. And that is, number 1 is the inventory shortage. We've never in our lives had a time when the shortage of inventory is so advantageous to us if we are courageous enough to become a strong listing agent. I mean, if you're a strong listing agent, you're in heaven. And the main reasons why is because the sellers are getting the prices they never dreamed they could get. Okay, now think about that for just a minute. Kevin, are you still operating in Northern and Southern California with your team?
Yes.
Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. Here we have the largest real estate state in the world, which is the state of California. I mean, it is the closest thing to heaven on earth for every part of, except for the taxes. Okay, it's the perfect place to live. Well, the average commission check, the average price is so strong today for our California people that they are in heaven as agents, but the sellers are getting prices they never dreamed of because of the multiple offers. So the shortage of inventory is actually become one of our greatest advantages if you're a listing agent. However, if you're working with buyers, it's a whole different program because the frustration you feel has to be extremely difficult. I mean, you almost need to take a Valium every day if you're going to work with buyers. Because, as you know, Kevin, a good agent that works for you takes a buyer out, pre-qualified, pre-approved, shows them a $700,000 or $800,000 home, writes an offer, calls a listing agent, and they're offer number 17 in the process.
Right.
And they get turned down, and the buyer's discouraged, the agent's discouraged. So what I want to say to everybody, the abundance of buyers, the low interest rates make the listing agents the kings and queens of real estate today. And with what Kevin, in your company, what would be an average commission check an agent would earn today, approximate?
So average price is like 1.3. So like 30,000 or so.
Okay, so they can earn $25,000, $30,000 per transaction. So Tristan, down in Westlake Village, what would be an average commission check? Give me an example.
Yeah, you're probably looking at about 24,000, about.
Now, of course, I've kidded with you guys before. In 1970 in Huntington Beach, not just south of where you are, what about 75 miles south, my average commission check was $285. Okay.
Wow.
You guys wouldn't even leave your house for $285. So the challenge that we face is the commission checks are so big and earned because of the work we do that it's hard to keep the agent motivated to fight to get the listings. It's just easier to take a buyer out because there's less hassle. Watch, buyers are trying to find an agent to help them sell or buy a home. Sellers are not. Agents have to find sellers. So the challenge that we face is trying to decide which of the two avenues we're going to use. When we were together a couple months ago on this particular webinar, if you remember, I said, I really think that an agent should have to declare when they get their license, I'm going to work with buyers or I'm going to work with sellers, because the skill set of the two types of businesses are totally different. Please don't let anybody get mad at me on the next thought.
Okay.
If you have a buyer and you can find a house and you can open the door and you shut up, they're probably going to buy the house because the demand is so strong. But if you're a listing agent going against Kevin or Tristan or myself, you better be good or you're going to get beat like a bad stepchild. Okay. So the skill set of the two is totally different.
Well,
so what we'll look at is
I have a question for you about that really quick, about that, because buyers seem to be easier to work with right now, right?
There's no question they are.
So, I mean, why does it seem that way? Because I know you always say the listing is the way we go, right? Listing. And I agree with you, but just buyers seem so easy right now.
Well, because there's so many of them in the market. I mean, if you walk out the door of your office and you can't find a buyer, it's because you're not looking. Okay?
Kevin, you hear that?
You've pulled your face mask up too high. Okay.
Oh,
you
boy.
Can't see people. But see, sellers, see, it goes back to the buyers are looking for somebody to help them find a home. Sellers are not. And that's the difference between the two processes. See, the whole skill set of looking for a seller is totally different than the skill set of finding a buyer. So, you know, the marketing, the advertising, the branding, the buying leads off the internet, which are very normal and common today, are not seller driven. Those are buyer driven. So it's a whole different marketplace we have today. I should have said, Kevin and Tristan, to all of your listeners, I'm going to ask Kevin to participate in this conversation today. I'm going to try for as many points as I can in the time we have. So I'm going to turn point number 3 over to you, if I may, Kevin.
Okay, so because of inventory shortage, well, basically, let me ask you this: how do you know? How do you know what you want from now until the end of December? How many do you want from now until the end of December? Like, how do you determine how many transactions that we're going to focus on from now until the end of December?
Well, here's the catch. I'm going to say to everybody, how many did you do in January, February? That should be one block of this year to analyze, because that's when the market was still fresh and good. Then how many did you do in March and April when the whole thing went in the tank? Then how many did you do in May, June, July, August? Because that's an upward trending time. And then source the business you had for May, June, July, and August. Where did it come from? Was it your past clients? Was it referrals? Were you out, doing something aggressive to find buyers and sellers? And then can you keep that trend up through the end of the year? Because the third point that Kevin and I want to make sure everybody understands is, until you have a number of transactions you're trying to close out this year, you're not going to know what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. You're flying blind, okay? I always use this example. Westlake Village has a beautiful lake. You have the ocean not that far away. San Francisco, and Kevin knows we have a beautiful part of the world to live in. I just see Naples, Florida came up on the screen, which is where my wife and I lived for 8 years until a couple of years ago. So welcome from Boston and from all these wonderful parts of the world. But whenever you have an ocean, wherever you have a lake and you have a sailboat and you have a 20-knot wind, Kevin, if your rudder falls off, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
So an agent that sits there and says, I have September, October, November, December to produce, if they don't have a number that they're targeting, we don't know what's going to happen. They're like having that wind with no rudder on their sailboat. So what I want them to do is I want them to take a business card and sit down sometime today and simply say, okay, if I really do the job that I'm capable of doing, how many can I close in the next 4 months based upon the last 4? Because the market is going to remain strong through the end of the year. And it's because of the shortage of inventory. So let's say they pick a number 8. They want to close 8 more before the end of the year. If they write it on the back of their card and they look at it 10 times a day, they're going to be drawn to it. Okay. Right. You know, Bob Proctor says the law of attraction is what makes people succeed. Well, I've known Bob for 50 years and he's 100% correct. So what I want them to do, Kevin, is to pick a number that is realistic based on what they did May, June, July, and August, project out, because the only thing that is missing in hitting that number is the decision of working buyers or sellers. Buyers, as Tristan said, buyers are much easier. There's less objections, there's less hassle, there's a lot more excitement, emotion, there's a lot more joy when they find the house of their dreams and you get to write a contract for them. But then the challenge is once you write that contract and you call the listing agent, and as you said, they're offer number 20. Yeah. So to avoid that, okay, you have to work towards listing. So here's my challenge. We have half of September left. Can every agent that's on this call take 2 more listings minimum before the end of September? Can every agent in October, November, and December take 3 or 4 listings per month? See, I believe they can do that if they have the skills to make it happen. And the skills, Kevin, what you talked about when you were kind enough to introduce me, prospecting, lead generation, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, a presentation of some strength, and then handling objections. Okay.
So, well, let me ask you this. How is it then, I mean, we go through so many different emotions in our business. And I know that you're very, very much numbers driven. And that's why you're talking about have a number in mind and focus on that number. But we deal with so much adversity in our industry. How do we maintain a positive attitude?
Well, and here's the catch. I got an email yesterday from one of our coaching clients in Canada, up in the Calgary area. He received 2 emails the same day from the previous day's work. The first email was, thank you for knocking on my door. Thank you for introducing yourself. My wife and I do want to sell. We'd like you to contact us next week and get our home on the market. Wow. That's a full email to receive. 10 minutes later, he got a second email calling him a series of very, very nasty names, saying to him, reporting you to the real estate commissioner for knocking on my door.
Wow.
He both emails, okay? And then I sent back to him the following response. Delete the second one, and every morning for the next month, read the first one.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That, because we all have people that love what we've done for them. So, Kevin, the hardest part of our business, you're right, is maintaining a strong mindset. But that's choosing to decide who you're going to spend your time with, choosing to decide what you're going to expose your brain to. See, I use this example. I have not watched the news on TV in over 40 years. I won't do it. I just will not do it. I haven't read a newspaper in 40 years. I won't do it. We live in Las Vegas in a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood with a high-rise condo. And coming back from the Wynn Hotel at dinner a couple nights ago, there were 45 police cars surrounding this apartment building about a half a mile from our house. My wife said, I wonder what's going on. I said, it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect us because they're not around our building. They're not looking for me, so I'm okay. So it's a matter of allowing certain things in. I have an invisible negativity helmet that I wear.
I love that.
And I just won't allow people to discuss those kind of things that are negative and nasty. So the agents have to decide, can they maintain the mindset? But more importantly, Kev, they got to decide if they're willing to develop the skills. Because this is, okay, I had cancer surgery a couple of years ago. No big deal, I'm fine, so don't go down that path, anybody. But the doctor showed me the plan of what she was going to do in the operation. She showed me the healing process. She explained everything in detail. I walked in with a smile on my face. I was so confident. She did the surgery. 2 hours later, I left and went home. Guess what? Okay. See, it's the attitude and the skills that we have that make us a strong listing agent. So I'm going to share a story with you guys.
Okay.
We have a second home in Newport Beach. I lived in Newport Beach all my life. So I kept a home there. About 3 weeks ago, Sabrina and I decided to sell it and buy a different home. I called 2 agents, okay? And agent A comes over at 3 o'clock, probably 35 years old, sharp young guy. And it was kind of cute. And I say this respectfully. He knocks on the door. I open the door and he goes like this. Oh my God, you are Mike Ferry.
Oh man.
I said, well, I woke up, okay? And I said, don't let that get in the way. Make your presentation. And I'm telling you guys, the guy did a great presentation, except at the end, he took all of his paperwork, packed it up, and put it back in his briefcase. And I looked at him and I said, tell me what's going on here. He said, well, here's how I work. When you decide to sign the contract, you call me and I'll bring it back over. I said, well, that's an interesting thought. I said, you want me to do the lead follow-up, correct? He said, yes. I went, okay, and he left. Well, at 4 o'clock, the second agent showed up, husband and wife team. They made a good presentation. I had told both parties, my wife's in Canada with her father. I'll talk to her tonight. We'll pick one of you and we're got the deal done. The second agent packs up his papers and hands them to me. He said, what time tomorrow around 8 o'clock should I come by and pick up the signed contract? I said, he said, okay, I'll be here. Guess who I gave the listing to?
Second one.
Sure, it's the skills. So what I want the agents to understand is that, yeah, it is easier to work with the buyer because you don't need a lot of the same skill because it's a relationship, rapport building experience when you're working with the buyer. It's a direct sales experience when you're working with the seller. So here's Tristan, have you ever had a day when you didn't feel like prospecting?
Oh yeah, for sure.
and you and I both know, Zig Ziglar used to say, prospecting and showering are the same. If you do them every day, you're going to have a lot more friends, okay?
I like that.
So we know that prospecting is the hang-up, which is why we do the branding, the marketing, the mail-outs, the buy the leads from Zillow, etc. So I have always talked, and Kevin mentioned this in the introduction, I've always talked about the quality and the quantity of the prospecting you do. If you do a lot of prospecting, you're going to win the game. And you can't lose if you do a lot of prospecting. But if we add the word quality to that, so I want to give an example. If a real estate agent goes out and spends 3 hours knocking on doors in Westlake Village, that is prospecting. However, if they're knocking on doors around a listing or sale, that's better quality prospecting. If an agent is holding an open house, that is prospecting and that's valid. But if they're contacting for sale by owners, that's a better quality contact. So now, Kevin, what we have to look at is the quality. So here's the challenge for all of the members of your great organization. If they were to make 20 quality contacts a day, 5 days a week from now to Christmas, could they achieve that number on the back of their card? And
Absolutely.
I'll bet the answer is 100% yes. Okay, no question about it. 20, quality. Oh, and I just see on the screen that Cricket from Vulcan 7 is with us today. Folks, Vulcan 7 furnishes you with the names and numbers of the quality contacts to make.
Right.
So we always have to remember that it's a numbers game, as you mentioned so perfectly. But we have to remember that the quality of what we say, the quality of the attitude we have, the quality of the speech that we're giving, which is the verbiage and the scripts, the quality of the person we're talking to makes all the difference in the world. So Kevin, you're going to love this. I've got a plan that I want you to share with the group on how every agent can take 3 or 4 listings a month, but I think you have a question first.
Well, I was just going to make a comment actually, which I think is really great and actually refreshing. And it's kind of like full circle, because one thing that I notice about you, Mike, and I really appreciate it, and I feel like a lot of us now are getting away from it, and that's just foundational, basic sales. Okay, just sales. I feel like a lot of us now, we get attracted to these like bells and whistles of like social media and video and this and that, and like a lot of like kind of just, you know, outside of the box, which is great. I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, we come back to full circle, which is what's great about you. Is you're kind of like bringing it back to the foundations and the like basics of our business, and that is human communication, interaction, and sales. Like it's about, at the end of the day, we have to understand and appreciate we are salespeople, and it's okay.
That's
like
right.
I know you agree with that. Some may not, but I know you do, and that's what I love about when I hear you. It just makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. So.
You know what's fun, Kevin, about that is my son, Tom, who you guys know is a great speaker. And Tom is very much into the social media and the videos and all what I call the alternatives to basic real estate sales. And people say to me all the time, do you and Tom get along? We play golf together all the time. We have dinner together all the time. I mean, he's my son, for God's sakes. I love him to death, okay? We don't agree on anything at all when it comes to selling real estate, which makes us even closer. Because the difference between Tom and I is not that one of us is right or wrong. Tom is teaching all those great thoughts that you just mentioned. You know, do 20 postings a week on social media to keep your name out there. Okay, do a video of yourself. Folks, before you do a video of yourself, hire somebody that knows how to do a video. Because I see some of this stuff on LinkedIn, and it is hysterical and not hysterically funny, okay? Right. So what I'm going to teach people is always what you have to go through to get to those alternatives.
Right.
Because if you don't know how to sell, what's the point of buying leads off Zillow?
Well, the reason why you're doing that is you're bringing people to you so that you can sell. That's the whole point. If you're getting leads and you don't know how to sell, then you're wasting time, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
Tristan, what do you think?
So everybody's looking for a way to get business without working.
That's the key right there.
Yeah, and Tristan, you know, the Mike Ferry system is, okay, I don't care if you hold open house or you're running ads on Facebook. I don't care. But as long as you know what to do when you talk to a client, and if you know what to say, then you're in trouble before you start. So we put together a little plan to help every agent get 3 or 4 listings a month. So I'm going to let Kevin go through that plan, if I may, with you guys.
Well, the plan for 4 listings a month, first of all, is how many hours a day you're going to prospect, right? Is the number of contacts you'll make, the number of leads generated, appointments set, and listings taken, right?
So simple. So simple. Okay.
And it's a matter of consistency. So go ahead.
So my broker, Pat McVeigh, he was incredibly smart. He was not educated, okay? He didn't go to college. I'm not even sure if he went to high school, okay? He worked in the coal mines in outside of Pittsburgh, came to California, got into real estate. We're sitting at breakfast in 1970. And he was one of my closest friends as well as my boss. He hands me a 3x5 card. He said, print your name at the top. So I did. You know, I went to 12 years to Catholic school. You do what you're told or they hit you in the head with a ruler. So I did what I was told. Okay. So Pat said, I'm going to ask you 5 questions and I want an honest answer because he was really tough. Pat, go ahead. How many hours will you prospect per day? I said, Pat, I prospect 4 hours a day, which I did. Write it down. How many contacts do you make per day? Like Kevin said, I make 40 to 50 contacts a day. I can do that in 4 hours. Write it down. How many leads can you generate? I said, I can generate at least 1 good seller prospect lead a day. Write it down. How many appointments can you set? I said, my goal, Pat, is 1 listing appointment a day, 5 days a week, 20 a month. And in the company that we worked in, we had probably 8 or 10 agents out of the 40 that were taking 15, 18 listings a month. And that was in 1970.
Wow.
So listen to this, guys. So this is for the 3 of us. And if the audience hears it, even better yet. In 1970, Pat had a little office in Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley area, 30 agents doing 100 listings a month in 1970, because we all worked with this little plan. He said, how many appointments? I said, 1 a day. How many listings can you take? I said, 15 a month. He said, write it down. But then he did something that was amazing. He had me sign my name on the 3x5 card. He created it was a contract between me and me. But here's what was fun. He said, I want you to take a copy of it and put it on the mirror when you shave and brush your teeth and read it every day. I said, okay. Give a copy to your spouse. I go, why? I want her to hold it up in the morning and say, honey, when you get to the office, that's your job.
Love it.
Oh, accountability. give one to the sales manager, which I did. Keep one on your desk. Folks, I was able to list 14 to 15 homes a month, and I was never the number 1 agent in my office because Paul Callahan and Jim Shockey and Betty Waller, these agents were really good, because they followed a simple plan. And that's why I loved your question from before. How do we pick the number? Answer the question to pick the number. This was the original business plan that we all use today. Just a lot less.
Mike, I have a quick question to go back to really quick. When you mentioned quality contacts, what do you refer to as quality? What does that mean to you in your mind?
Well, to me, quality is a combination of things. Okay, quality would be how they see us. Okay, when they're looking at us, what do they see? Do they see a professional? Do they see a person that really understands what they are trying to accomplish? Do they see a person that really has a real interest in them versus just getting a commission check? But also the quality of the conversation, the questions they ask. Hi, you want to sell your home? Or, hi, when do you plan on moving? I'm going to say something which I don't talk about because people don't like to hear this kind of stuff, but there's a wonderful entertainer named Andrea Bocelli. And most people know who he is. And he happens to be a friend of my wife and mine. We've known him for a long time. And I'm sitting with Andrea and his wife. We're sitting in Italy at their place. This was in September of last year. And Andrea speaks 5 languages, and he speaks perfect English. And my wife is trying to learn Italian. So this is the example of quality. So I said to Andrea at lunch, we find that Italian is a very, very challenging language to learn because there's male, female in all the conversations. There is versus just our language pattern that we have. And he looked at me and he said, Michael, English is the strange language, not Italian. I said, why? Now he can speak perfect English. He said, I go to New York. You know, somebody was not going to like what I'm going to say next, but so blame Andrea Bocelli. He goes, go to New York. And the waiter says, can I help you, sir? And he says, I would like a glass of water. He said, that is proper English. I said, yes. And the waiter says, yeah, you want some water? And walks away. He said, the difference is the quality of the language that you use, the quality of the questions you ask, the quality of the prospect you're talking to. A for sale by owner is a better quality person than somebody that appears at an open house. So Tristan, thank you for getting that clarified, because that's an important part of the process, in my opinion, today, because the number of agents is growing faster than the number of transactions is growing. So per person productivity is dropping, except for the listing agents, they're getting stronger. Because a good portion of all the great listing agents, fortunately, are customers of mine, and they understand what I'm talking about here. So with that being said, you brought up something, Kevin, a minute ago. You asked about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I said the mindset, the skills, the activities that we're involved in daily, and then the actions we take are what mold a great agent. But you know what's interesting? When you're making $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 per deal, it's hard to get an agent engaged in those activities every day. You know, I mean, let's face it. You and I know agents that make $500, $1 million, $2, $3 million. We have a client in Nashville, May, June, July, and August. Real estate agent, $200,000 a month he made per month for the last 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know what he said to me? It's really screwed up the year because my goal was to make $750 for the year. Well, we just changed our goal to $1.2 million. Okay?
Yeah.
So the activities are the name of the game. This is my 230th webinar that I've done since April 1st.
Mike's a machine.
Well, but you know what? Normally, we're out among the public. We're
Right.
seeing people in seminars. We're doing big events.
Right.
Well, today, I'm doing 5 or 6 of these a day, 3.5 days a week.
So I think
Activity.
one of the challenges that we deal with, and you just touched on it, is we have a successful month. We have a successful, let's say, even a year. We reach our goal, like you said, the gentleman that you just mentioned hit $200,000 a month, 3 months in a row. His goal was $750,000 for the year. So oftentimes I find agents take their foot off the gas and they start to slow down. So how do we maintain that tenacity or maintain that focus and drive constantly, even after we've had a stellar year and performed well? How do we maintain that level of drive that we need?
Well, I think really what you're describing is very classic, and it's the word complacency. Now, complacency can be living at a very low level in terms of lifestyle, or complacency can be making a couple $1 million a year and you've stayed there for years. Mm-hmm. In either case, complacency is when you're satisfied totally with what you are doing and what you have. So the only way to get out of complacency is keep raising the bar. Because see, I've always said, Kevin, if a person can do 4 or 5 transactions a month, they can get to 10 a month faster than an agent can get to 2 a month. Because they already have the foundation laid. They've already got the past client base. They've already got the database in play. Now we just have to stretch them and raise the goal, okay? Mm-hmm. And if that's where the mindset, that's why, you know, crazy Mike Ferry has read 200 books a year for the last 50 years, which I have done.
Wow.
I've read 10 books in my life, okay?
Give us your top 3 books for this year.
Well, without a doubt, I've read Think and Grow Rich twice this year again. Okay, that's always number 1 on my list, Think and Grow Rich. Okay? And then there's a wonderful book, and I've got it right here on my desk. If you've not read it, The 12 Rules for Life. It is the last name is Peterson, the author. It's just a phenomenal book. Okay, and then if you want to have some fun, there's a book that Earl Nightingale wrote. He's only written 1 book, and it's just a phenomenal book because it's called The Essence of Success. Mm. And it's 100 2-page stories written by Earl Nightingale on life. Kevin, you can open it to any place in the book and read those 2 pages and you're going to be excited.
I love it.
So I just constantly, like sitting in front of me, I've got my iPad sitting on a series of books. Okay, the first one is called The Future is When You Decide It's Going to Take Place. One is called Wealth Made Easy. The next one is called The Little Black Book of Workout Motivation. The next one is by American Express, Fine Hotels in the World. Okay. The next one is called The Miracle Club, which is a wonderful book. The next one is The 7 Secrets of Real Estate Photography. It bored me to tears. The next one is a great one called Defying Limits, DEFYING Limits, okay? And then the last one was given to me by a friend called Normandy to the Bulge, which is a story of what took place in World War II. So I just keep filling my mind with these kind of thoughts to keep lifting my goals.
Hey, Mike, what keeps you going, man? Like, what keeps you? You've had success. What gets you going?
Several things. First of all, for me, I'm 75 and a half years old, so I know that there is a time limit on my life. So Sabrina asked me, my wife is 20 years younger, so she said to me, what do you want to have on your headstone when you die? I said, it's real simple. Just put my name and just write, he made a difference. Because that's all I'm trying to accomplish today. Unfortunately for myself and my kids and my grandchildren, the way the trusts are set up, everybody's in pretty good shape because of Papa's work. So now I'm just trying to make a bigger difference. I figure I have, Kevin, 15 more years of operating at this level. That'll take me to age 90. And then I'll take a weekend off. Okay.
Mike, well, what are you doing? Well, here, I'm going to take a step back just on that, what Kevin said. I was sitting in the audience, I think it was like 10 years ago, off of one of your summits. By the way, the summit's coming up. I put up the link there.
Yeah,
everybody jump on. Virtual summit's going to be amazing. I was sitting in the audience and you sidetracked a little bit and you said, hey, look, we all have negative thoughts.
Yes.
The difference is the moment I get one is the moment it goes out. And
Yes.
I thought that was super powerful. Can you talk really quick about how you got your mind to that? Because we all struggle with that, especially right now.
Well, Earl Nightingale was my first mentor that really helped me understand the power of the brain. Because what Earl said is, if you look at life, there's all sorts of negativity taking place. You're driving on the freeway and somebody slams on the brakes and that's a negative thought, or there's a terrible accident, or then if you do watch the news, which I don't, you read about all the terrible things taking place. Well, what I do is I just keep filling my head full of as many good thoughts as I can find. And that allows me to eliminate the negativity instantaneously. Or what I'll often say to Sabrina or my kids, I have a 3-minute rule. If something is negative, I'm allowing it to stay in my head for 3 minutes, and I'll time it. And at the end of 3 minutes, I'm done with it, okay? Because there's no value in the negativity, okay? And I'm not a great, Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking, I'm a great believer in. But there's also the reality of what goes on in life every day. And a deal falls apart and a buyer doesn't show up and somebody else cuts their commission and takes a listing away from you. And then there's 32 offers and they're all crap and the seller won't accept any of them. That's called real life, okay? Mm-hmm. My question then when we deal with those is what can I do right now to improve what I'm trying to do and live with? Because it really comes down to what am I going to do at this moment? I'm sitting in my office in Las Vegas, and right in front of me, I have a painting by a wonderful artist named Royo, R-O-Y-O.
Yeah.
And this painting cost, this one was probably about $70,000, and I bought it 20 years ago. It's probably worth a couple $100,000 today. So when I'm sitting at my desk, I can see Kevin right in front of me, but I also can see this beautiful painting. I get so inspired because I got to have dinner with Royo.
Wow.
And you're going to, we are, I believe we're his largest independent owner of his paintings. We have about 30 of his originals in our homes and our office. And I'm sitting at dinner with him. And Kevin, I thought that Royo was probably 20 years older than I was because he's a little tiny. He's got a big, long beard, long, stringy hair, smokes cigarettes with 2 hands, a bottle of wine every 20 minutes, that's his life, okay? And I said to him, Royo, how old are you? And he goes, well, how old are you? I said, at that time, I think I was 68. He goes, we're the same age. I said, good, I'm going to send you a gift. He said, you're going to send me a gift? I said, I'm going to send you a case of cigarettes. Because in case you're not going to be around long, and then all my artwork is going to triple in value. And then we had a good life. Okay. And I never sent him the cigarettes because I want him to live forever because his artwork is so great. But if we surround ourselves, on my left, I have about 175 books on my bookshelf. Okay. Over here, there's a picture of Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, and Earl Nightingale. And I see it every day. Over here, I have two of Earl's original records, The Strangest Secret. And he signed the cover of both records. These are from 1956. Okay. So, on my left, I have 5 or 6 books that I happen to love to read often. So what it comes down to is we have to make a choice. And the choice is, what do we want to have happen today to bring some value to ourselves, our family, and our prospects and customers?
Mm-hmm.
So when Tristan asks a question like the one I thought was great was, what motivates me today? I'm just trying to bring some value. And if I give some value, somebody's going to pay attention and have more success.
Well, I'll tell you, sir, you've made an impact. You've brought a lot of value up until now. And, you know, what you've done has been absolutely amazing. And what I'm hearing is like this theme, and really throughout what you've been saying, it really comes down to trying to control your environment as much as possible in a positive way. Right. Yeah. So you're not watching the news because you don't want outside influence, or you don't want something that's out of your control to change your perspective on your mindset. Right. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. And I think, am I right? Is that?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think also it comes down to perspective as well. And I talk about this a lot. And being in, you know, we have so much opportunity where we are today, and the opportunity to make a living and to achieve the things that we want to achieve. And it's really simple. You mentioned a number of them in our industry. What we can do is spending the time and following those steps that you mentioned and doing them consistently can lead us to the success. And one thing that Tristan mentioned that I took away from one of your events, everyone's got like a Mike Ferry moment. So my Mike Ferry moment is at one of your conferences, and it was packed with all these top agents from all over the country. And you had this little piece of paper, and you're sitting in front, like, you know, just kind of sitting there, and everyone's full attentive. Like every little word you say is like this gold, right? So, and I remember you said, hey, you guys, you know what's on this sheet of paper? And then everyone starts asking, calling out, you know, different things, and they were all wrong. And you say, you know what's on this sheet of paper? You said, it's the exact same information that was on the sheet of paper last year.
That's right.
And you know what was on the piece of paper from last year? It was the same exact sheet that was from the year before. And the point is, although you guys are all the top people in the country, we just need to be reminded. We may know what we're supposed to do, but we just need to be reminded often and over again. So I thought that was just brilliant. And that sticks in my mind, and I talk about it all the time.
So you get a kick out of this. 1985, I did what we call our very first superstar retreat. And we had 200 people there. And I lost about $200,000 doing it. But I thought this was an idea that would germinate and grow. Well, of course, now we've been doing it for 35 years. And we have 4,000 to 5,000 people every summer at that retreat. But I did the first retreat, and there was this wonderful lady, and I can see her just as if she's in front of her. Her name is Anna Frumentino, a little Italian gal from Chicago. She's at the first retreat, and she's sitting in the front, and she is taking notes furiously and asking questions and really interrupting the whole event. But she was such a bundle of energy. Well, it's year 2, a year later, and I'm in the room an hour before preparing for the next retreat, and she comes in through the kitchen. And I go, Honor Frumentino. She goes, how did you know who I was? I said, trust me, I remember you. She sits down in front of me, and listen to the question she asked me. Nobody's in the room. She said, are you going to cover the same material this year that you covered last year? And I said, gosh, I apologize. I don't remember what I covered last year. Do you? She goes, no. I said, then what difference does it make what I covered this year? The truth is, the Los Angeles Dodgers, okay, the San Francisco 49ers, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Lakers, UCLA, USC, Stanford, all of these great athletes understand the importance of repetitiously being involved in development of skills. And that's their whole life. I mean, I've played golf with probably 200 of the top professional golfers in the world personally, because I've played in 75 pro-ams around the world where I play in the tournament. Wow. And I've played with the best of the best of the best. All they do is practice their skills. That's all they do. And then they perform for a couple of hours. I mean, look at Dustin Johnson from Westlake area, okay, from Sherwood. He won $15 million last Sunday. They finished that golf tournament.
That's right.
Not bad for 4 days work, okay? No. A little better than some of the agents are doing today, but it's because of the skill. Well, so you're going to get a kick out of this. I just got a text from Lori, my assistant. And I want to first say to all of your agents, if they would write down my email address very quickly, okay? Cricket from Vulcan is on the call. She'll type it in for us. So it's mike.ferry at mikeferry.com. I would like to offer everybody that's wants it a copy of the notes. I've got everything typed up. It's everything that I would have said if we had the time, all 14 points. I've never started a seminar that I finished yet, so I'm guilty. So please feel free to send me your questions. Somebody just put a question on the board, Kevin, and it said, are we anticipating the next perfect storm, 2007 again? No, it will not happen again. It won't happen in my lifetime, okay? And the reason it won't happen is the government regulations are in play to control that type of thing taking place. Right. So I don't think we're going to see a big, giant repossession market taking place, because the equity, here's the catch, folks. 67% of the American public that could own a home does. It's the highest number in the history of our country. And the equity position of the American public in real estate today is in the trillions of dollars. So if somebody, because of COVID-19, has unfortunately lost their job or their company has closed down, they're not going to get their home repossessed because they can sell it and they have a lot of equity today. So we're not going to have what we had in the past, okay? Yeah, we're going to have some ups and downs. That's just called life, okay? You know, I mean, it's just called the normal cycles of real estate. But also, if I may, Kevin and Tristan, I'd like to invite everybody to go to my website, and I'm going to give them a code to write down. And the code is MFO1. Because this year, our big retreat is going to be virtual. It's not going to be 4 days. It's going to be 3. It's not going to be 9 to 4. It's going to be 9 to 1. Because you can do a lot more in a virtual event than you can in a live event in terms of content. We're going to give everybody that attends all of my notes. This is my entire retreat outlined. Every person that attends is going to get a copy. Every person that attends is going to get an audio copy of the entire retreat so they can listen to it for the next several months after the retreat. That's and for all the members of your group, all of your members of your MFO1.
That's the number one, or okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, the number 1. So perfect. Capital M, capital F, capital O1.
Yeah, I'm going to post it up in the community of our Facebook group as well, and then I'll also post up the PDF on there as well later on, so people can get it there for free as well.
Put it, Tristan, put it in real closers too.
Perfect. I'm doing that right now.
Mike, so what do you see then? Let's, as we wrap up, what are you anticipating, let's say, in the next 6 to 18 months?
I think we will probably finish this year stronger than ever. The first quarter after a national election is always strong. Okay, it doesn't matter whether Republican or Democrat gets elected. The economy should remain strong. Neither one of them can screw it up in 3 months. So we should be covered through the end of the first quarter. And then after the first quarter, we're going to probably see a little decline. But here's the catch. Strong agents are not affected by economic cycles.
Right.
They're not affected.
We do better.
Yeah. And there's going to be 4 to 5 million sales a year. How many do you want?
Right.
Because that's what we have annually. So you'll get a kick out of this. I get a text, and it's my assistant, okay, Lori. Hang up. You have to do another one in 10 minutes.
Okay. Well,
so first of all, I cannot thank you two guys enough for inviting me to come back and be part of this. I mean, I am so impressed with this group that you have and the size and the information you've given, and allowing me to be part of it is a treat. And I want to thank you for that. So, I've known both of you a long time, and I'm hoping to know you for a longer time in the future. Okay.
Oh, and happy to know you. I'm glad that we're connecting more, and you're always welcome to come back anytime you need to make an announcement or come in. We're happy to have you.
Well, if they want a copy of the notes from today, just send me an email, write the word notes. And if they register for my big superstar retreat, I'll be thrilled to have them as one of our guests. With that, I better say goodbye to both of you, and thank you. Thank you. See you soon, Kevin.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.